And
Yep.
so I graduated high school when I was like 18, 19. Well, actually, 2 years before that, I was 16, and that was like kind of the start of everything of where I'm at now. And around 16 years old, broke my hand in a side by side. We flipped. A buddy of mine was driving. He sucks at driving, so he ended up flipping it, and I stuck my hand out the roll cage. I crushed my hand. I got 3 plates, 18 screws in my hand. It's a whole, yeah, I mean, it's a whole contraption in this hand, dude. It's been through some stuff. I completely split open my palm too. I got black on it because I was
Oh,
working on my car earlier, but um
yeah.
so 16, and then that took about almost a year or two to fully recover. And then I got into competitive CrossFit just after graduating high school, or at least I knew
Mhm.
I wanted to be competitive in CrossFit, and I'd been doing it for a couple of years already, just for maintaining, just being healthy. And
Mhm.
then I bought a 1988 Chevy G30 van, and I built that van out into a whole like homestead. I mean, I put the whole kitchen. It was me, my dad, and a buddy of mine, and put a whole kitchen in it. Put a bed, put a whole electrical system, battery, solar
Mhm.
panel, fan, like the whole thing, and drove that from Temecula, California, all the way to Cookeville, Tennessee. And it took me. I only
Wow.
drove 4 hours a day because I didn't want to drive an '88 van longer than like a few hours every day. I just wasn't
Yeah,
comfortable
yeah.
because it's like a 30-hour
Right.
drive from or from Winchester or Temecula, California, all the way to Cookeville. It's 30 hours, and I did not want to drive my van for like 30 hours straight because I
I was
just,
gonna say that's a hike. That's a trip.
yeah, it was super fun though. I mean, I took my time, took about a week, and um, got to Cookeville, Tennessee, and I started training full time and as a competitive CrossFit athlete, and met a bunch of people. That was around 2021 when I got there. 2022, we built a team inside of the gym I was working out at, which is CrossFit Mayhem,
Mm.
and in that
Oh, no
gym,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you familiar with it?
Oh, yeah, I am familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we went out to CrossFit Mayhem, or I went out there and then met some people, and actually met my girlfriend along the way, and or while I was there, and with her and two other teammates, we created a team in 2022, and we qualified for the CrossFit Games in 2022 with that team, and we were the first gym to ever make or to ever have three teams go to the CrossFit Games at once from the same affiliate, which was
Wow.
pretty dope. And
Yeah.
that was a very big learning experience year, and so qualified that year with the team. Next year, 2023, as an individual, I qualified for semifinals. Got through the open, quarterfinals, and semis, and was, I think, like seven or eight spots away from qualifying for the CrossFit Games as an individual.
Oh, wow.
So then the following year, 2024, which was just this past year, um, I qualified for semifinals again, and I was one spot away from the CrossFit Games and like 16 points. So I am now training full time still for next year, and I am coming
Mhm.
full swinging for the CrossFit Games, and just gonna see how it goes. We
Yeah.
try and get better every year. That's the goal. Whatever it's try and get better with training, but also with food, and try not to get injured and all that sort of jazz. Just with any athlete, you don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
get hurt. You want to stay healthy. And
Right.
oh, man, no, it's been pretty crazy. A lot of stuff has happened along the way, but that's the gist of it all.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, obviously I want to get to kind of present day and hear your sort of mentality around just missing the making the CrossFit Games. Obviously, I know that's I've been there, right? I'm an athlete. I played hockey
Mhm.
my whole life, so I've been in those sorts of situations before, and it sucks, but it also keeps you coming back for more
It
because you know
does.
you're right there. But first of all, I want to hear a little bit about your story of like how you really got involved in fitness and ultimately CrossFit, right? I think everybody that we have on this podcast has a unique story about how they got into fitness, and a lot of it relates to kind of saving them from something, right? Whether it was like, they were playing some sort of sport and they were searching for an identity after their sport, and they get into CrossFit or they get into bodybuilding or they get into powerlifting or whatever it might be. So I guess, did you have a background early on in fitness? Were you always involved in it? Did you have any family members that were kind of active in that space?
My So I have a brother who's 4 years older than me, and
Hmm.
he was always in sports. From the moment at least that I can remember, he was always doing some kind of sport, and so I kind of just like followed in his whatever footsteps, and
Hmm.
just kind of kept doing what he was doing. And I knew my parents always they did sports in school and stuff, so I just all the way
Hmm.
through middle school I was able to do it where you did like football, soccer, basketball, like
Hmm.
all back to back to back. I did that all through middle school, and then for some reason when I think it was 11 or 12, I might have been 11, but I asked my dad if I can get a gym membership and at like some just like just some random gym around here.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was able to actually get a membership until I was 12. So there would be sometimes I would be working out in my garage, like doing random things, dude. I don't even know. Like I would lift generators and stuff. Like I would just like deadlift generators, and I would do weird things like that. And anything to do bicep curls with. Like, I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. So when I turned 12, though,
Yeah.
I just, for some reason, I just have always wanted to be in a gym. I don't know. Some people
Hmm.
think some people say I've got some weird thing with me that I just like can't sit still all the time. Like I have to keep
Hmm.
moving. And I don't know. I guess that's just been like crammed in me since I was little. And, so 12 years old, joined a gym, just naturally was attracted to it. And my brother, he was in track and field all throughout high school. And I was going to do track in high school, but I didn't end up doing it. I still love track. I think it's really cool. But
Hmm.
I got more into like motocross, and I surfed a little bit during high school. It was mainly after high school is when I really started surfing. But it was a lot of motocross throughout high school. Like that was my life. So um,
Hmm.
I just I don't know, man. I dug into those sports in high school, and when fitness came into play was I knew what it felt like. It's such a simple thing to say, but like I think it's so important is I knew what it felt like to feel good from a young
Hmm.
age, and I knew what it felt. So when I started feeling bad, if I didn't work out or if I stopped eating, if I was eating fast food all the time or like things like that,
Hmm.
a lot of people that's normal to them to feel like that. So they think that it's just
That's
that's
the way it is.
normal to
Yeah.
feel that way. Like it's not.
Right.
Once you eat good, go to the gym, get moving, and you understand what it feels like to feel good. You know, you're going to completely change your perspective on your whole life and how you should eat and how you should move every day. And I knew what it felt like to feel good, and I wanted to keep feeling good, and I still want to keep feeling good. So
Yeah,
there's those
that's right.
times
Yeah,
though, of
it's
course.
true.
Everyone's got those times they go out, of course, and have a good time with friends and
Right.
stuff like that. But I like feeling
Yeah.
good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think honestly, there are more and more people that are an advocate for this now. I think they're especially in the United States, right? Like obviously when you look at um, you know, the country as a whole in terms of fitness and nutrition and all those sorts of things, like it's kind of fallen by the wayside over the past couple decades, I would say,
Oh yeah,
honestly, in terms of fast foods and people not understanding the true benefits of being healthy, right? Like being active, even just freaking going for a walk down the street
go for a
and doing
walk.
something
Yeah,
active.
something simple.
Yeah, exactly. But it really does. It does change your life. And obviously, when you first start out, like you said, right, like you have no idea what you're doing, and you lean
No,
on friends or you lean on, people in the gym who are copying what they're doing or whatever it might be. So, like for you, not knowing what you were really doing in the beginning, at what point did you really take to it to the point of self-educating yourself? Like whether it's watching YouTube videos or finding friends or mentors to kind of help you get to that next level. And ultimately, today, like you're on the verge of making the CrossFit Games, right? So at
yeah.
some point there had to be a transition point where you're like, you start learning more and more every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what started it was just in a CrossFit gym. That's where I really
Hmm.
started to learn everything. When I was in just a regular, just like bodybuilding gym,
Hmm.
not many people. At least when I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't talk to many people, and it's not super like social area unless you're a social person, which I wasn't. And so once I got into a CrossFit gym, freshman year of high school, that's when I started seeing people, and then you would see like it's like a fit you see like a fit group of people, or you see like you just see like a group of people usually off to the corner, off to the side, after class or during open gym hours, and they would all be in one group and all be doing workouts together that are like crazy workouts. But they're
Hmm.
like the fit people of the gym, and so I was naturally, I wanted to be like them, and I wanted to keep up with them, and I wanted to beat them in workouts, and I just naturally, just being competitive, I wanted to do that, and I
Right.
wanted to. So what I did is, I would ask those people if I could either work out with them, or I would ask them like, hey, what did you do to get better at this, or what did you do to get better at that, and
Hmm.
just picking brains. Like, I love to pick people's brains. You can always learn
Hmm.
something from someone, even if it's to learn what not to do. Like,
Right.
you can
Yeah.
always learn. So that was always that's always been my motto, no matter what. So there was one guy I remember. His name was Tanner. He was snatching like 225 in the gym, and to me, I was like 14 or 15, and I was like, dude, that is like superhuman to do that. Which still to this day, to snatch 225 is such a great thing to do. Um,
Yeah.
but as I grew up and understanding like the competitiveness of CrossFit, and like if you have a 1 rep max 225 snatch, like you're not going to make it super far in CrossFit.
Right.
But
Right.
um, to me, as a 14, 15, seeing him do that, that was really cool. And then just seeing, like, learning what he did to get stronger, like, just eat and lift.
Hmm.
Like, you don't have to get super complicated with it. There's like programs you can follow and all that jazz, but picking people's brains, man. And after Tanner, that was got over to some other gyms, and eventually just that's when, I don't know, obviously social media has been around, but I just saw a bunch of people that were working out at a gym over in Cookeville, Tennessee, and I saw another gym that was here
Hmm.
in San Diego. And but the problem was when when I was training here and wanting to learn from people here, I would a lot of the times just skip training sessions, and I would go surf. So that was really the main reason
Haha.
why I ended up going to Cookeville. And of course, CrossFit Mayhem, there's so many professional athletes, semi-professional athletes, and um, you can learn from everyone. So I don't think made a bad choice going there. And once I
Right.
got there, it's literally just talking to people, asking, "Hey, what can I do with my nutrition to get a little bit better?" And that was really when I started dialing in nutrition, recovery work, and programming, and just training in general was when I got to Cookeville, Tennessee. But never be afraid to go up to someone, even if it's in random public, to ask them like, "Hey, how did you get to look like that?" Or like, I don't know, like, "Hey, where did you learn that skill? Like, what can I start doing to learn that skill?" I
Yeah.
always like to
Yeah.
pick people's brains.
Yeah, and you never know who you're gonna meet too. Like that person that you decide to spark a conversation with, like they could be, going to the CrossFit Games, right? Like
Right,
that same year. You just have no
right.
idea, and that could be a new mentor, a new friend, or whatever it might be. So no, that's true. I think it's very true. But I want to dive a little bit into the other aspects of your life too before we kind of get into present day trying to make the CrossFit Games and everything like that. So obviously, you said motocross was a pretty big piece of your life. So I guess. Take us back to that time. And was that something that you like wanted to potentially go pro in, or was it something that you were more just doing for fun?
That was really, man, honestly, like, I've ridden dirt bikes. Since I was like, I don't even know. I wasn't super young, but I was like 12 years old, maybe 13. But I didn't really start riding a lot until I was in high school, and
Hmm.
I didn't like. I didn't ever have on the mind I wanted to go pro, because I don't know. You just see like a lot of the motocross riders, a lot of the pros, they started really young, like 5 years old. And so
Right.
I just in my head, I was like, man, I don't know if I can make it. But also, motocross, you kind of got to have some money to be a racer in motocross, at least a little bit, like, because you know more than your average middle class person, because
Yeah. Right. Right.
motocross is expensive, bro. Like, I did a handful of races, and like something would happen every race with my bike, and I was my own mechanic. I've done all my mechanic work myself, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
dude, something would break every time, and it's like money on money on money, and
Yeah.
just simple things like getting more gas, getting more oil, little things like that. And then if you crash, things are bent, And what it
Hmm.
came down to was like I just didn't want to. It was so expensive for me to do it. I just kind of did it.
Hmm.
I just did it as a hobby with a buddy of mine and
Yeah.
a couple other
Right.
friends here and there. But no, being pro in motocross was never really a reality in my mind.
Right. Yeah.
But I
So at what
still love it
point
to
was
this
it?
day.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So at what point did you like want to take the gamble on CrossFit? And like, was that something that you thought like you'd be where you are today, and where you're almost making the CrossFit Games?
Well, uh, I mean, well, it started out when I started CrossFit. I almost qualified for the CrossFit Games as a teenager in the teenage division, like my
Right.
first
Yeah.
year ever. And then the year after that, something happened. I don't remember what, or I may have just not even competed that next year. I don't know. But then I broke my hand like shortly after the whole thing.
Hmm.
But I had a little spark of like, oh, okay, I can qualify for the CrossFit Games. That's dope. Um, or I could at least get close. And so I didn't really have a spark to be super competitive until after high school. But throughout high school, it was like, I might go for it. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I've been into fitness my whole life. Like, even if I wasn't doing competitive CrossFit, I'd still be doing CrossFit. And that's two
Right.
separate things. Competitive CrossFit and CrossFit are two separate things.
Yeah.
Um, so after high school I was just when I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go for it. And if I get burnt out and I don't want to do it anymore, I'm fortunate enough that I can come back to California and I know my family's here and I'd be willing to go try something else. And
Right. Right.
but I know I've always had that drive. I told my grandma, I remember a long time ago, I was like, I want to be professional in something. I don't know what it is, but I want to be a professional in something. So hopefully, technically I was professional when I was on a team, but I really want to,
Yeah.
secure that individual CrossFit game spot. But also, there's so many things happening in the CrossFit space right now, and there's changes every year, and I think it's going in the right
Hmm.
direction. And I'm excited for the future with it. But I think I made the right choice. And man, I love the gym. I've loved it since I was so little, and
Hmm.
it's just natural to be in there. Like when you go in a hockey rink, it feels natural. Like that's just
Yeah.
how I am with the gym, man.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it is great. I love the gym. Honestly, there's been times where, in training, whether it's, in the off season or whatever it might be, where I'm like, I love being in the gym more than I like being out on the ice. And I know a lot of hockey players that are like that. They enjoy the training more than actually
Yeah,
playing the game, even though that's benefiting what you're supposed to be doing, which is playing hockey.
yeah.
But so fast forward a little bit, obviously, you go into the team side of things, you get a team going, and you guys are obviously super successful. So, in that regard, I guess, how did that really start for you and getting the team together? And was it the first try that you guys made it,
Yeah,
or
yeah. It was
did
our
you?
first
Was
year.
it really?
Yeah, when I rolled up in I think March or I think it was April in 2021. That was when I rolled up, and the CrossFit Games season starts around February. So
Yep.
I rolled in like mid season, and so we couldn't form anything that year. So it wasn't until
Hmm.
2022 in February of 2022 that was when like our team became official. But
Hmm.
I you know I had to. I had to like, I had to prove myself in a way in the gym that I was legit. I wanted to be there because, right, in CrossFit Mayhem,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people that come through that gym. I didn't know it in the beginning. I was just one of those people coming through, but I see it now that I've been there for a couple of years that there is a lot of people that just come through the gym. They try it out for a few months and then they get burnt out and then they leave, or they actually realize how um, simple and repetitive it is to be a CrossFit athlete and how boring
Hmm.
it actually can be. And a lot of people don't like that. You see the highlight reels on Instagram, and there's a reason why it's called highlight reels. Like that's
Hmm.
just such a that's it's like all the hard work you had to do to get there it was for that like little clip. Like that little clip is
Yeah.
not what you're doing on a daily basis. And
Right.
but so, throughout the 2021 year, I did have to prove myself in the gym a little bit, and I was wanting to go individual that year. And then a buddy of
Hmm.
mine he works for the Mayhem media team. His name is Ben Davidson, and he came to me, I think in December or January of that year, and he asked me if I wanted to bring a team together. And by that time, I was already starting to date my girlfriend Aniston, who was on the team as well. And we talked about bringing her on the team. And so we had three people, and we needed one more girl. And I was still on the fence if I wanted to do it or not. But then eventually, fittest man in history, Rich Froning, that's his gym, and me and
Mhm.
he gave me like a I talked to him like a few times about going team and whatnot, and he was like, basically, you know, I think in his mind, he knew realistically, like I wasn't qualifying for the CrossFit Games as an individual. I still haven't. I'm
Mhm.
close, but at that time, I definitely wasn't there. And he knew
Yeah.
realistically, like I wasn't gonna make it. He was like, dude, just go team, get some experience, and
Right.
I don't know if he believed if we were going to even make it as a team or not, but I thought it was pretty encouraging that he gave some words to me, and he would let us be one of the Mayhem teams there. But
Yeah.
going back, got three people on the team: me, Ben, and Aniston, and we need one more girl. So we were searching. We didn't really search too far, but we met. This our friend Jess Calais. I don't even know how to say her last name. I love her so much, Calagian or something. But she is a beast, dude. She was like Alabama's strongest woman in 2020,
Wow.
2020 something. I don't know what, but she's a beast, dude. And she was like the just like the last piece of the puzzle. Like she was perfect for the
Mhm.
team, and her and Anderson got along super well. And Ben, dude, Ben's super weird, and oh my gosh, man, that team was just something else, man. There's so many stories
Bunch of
with that team.
characters, huh?
Dude, it really was. It really was. Dude, I would go team again with those people for sure in the future if they ever wanted to again. I mean, I love that. I love
Mm.
that crew. And but
Yeah.
Ben Davidson was the one who really started the idea. And he saw that I was at least getting a little bit fit. And Ben was one of the guys that I looked up to in the gym for the longest. I still look up to him, dude. He's
Mhm.
so fit. People call him like the most like he looks like the most average guy, but he is one of the most fit people in the world, dude. It's
Uh,
like you
so
would
it's a
never,
little deceiving. Yeah.
dude. If you saw Ben Davidson walking on the street, you're like, nah, whatever. You just pass by him, but you don't know how
Yeah.
good that dude is at CrossFit. It is unbelievable.
Wow.
And so I've always looked up to him, and he's super cool.
Yeah.
And Aniston was a freak at gymnastics, still is, and Jess can throw around any freaking barbell, any kind of weight you put on that thing. So it all kind of meshed together, and I had a little bit of everything, and I was just kind of like average at everything. I wasn't super great at anything,
Yeah.
so we all
The
meshed
glue.
together.
You're holding the team together.
Yeah, and no, Ben was the captain, and he really kept us all in uh
Yeah.
in sync, and just how weird he was, bro. I don't know. He's funny. But
So what does a prep look like for CrossFit teams? Like in terms of leading up to the CrossFit Games and whatnot, like how much are you guys training? Like how often are you guys actually together, like doing workouts and all that kind of stuff?
well, honestly, I mean, if you're a good team, every day, and that's what we
Yeah.
were. We were competing as much as we could, or competing. We were training as much as we could every single day with each other. A lot of the times it would
Hmm.
be in the morning. We would kind of do our own thing, and then because Ben, it was mainly like Ben. Sometimes Anderson would work um, in the gym and whatnot, and then in the afternoons
Hmm.
we would just all train together in the afternoons. So that
Right.
was,
Right.
we did that, and training. There's like I mean, it varies every day of what we did, but a lot of the time, we would just hit up Rich, and he was competing. That was his last year on team, actually.
Hmm.
We would, hit him up. We would see what he did that day with his team and what they trained, and we would kind of just either do the same thing or make adjustments. And then, other days there was stuff we had to work on. Like there's one specific piece of equipment. It's called the worm on the team in CrossFit, and That is by far the worst thing that is ever made on planet Earth. That is, I hate that thing. It is so hard to me. I hate it. Like, dude, if I could get, oh my gosh, if I could throw something in a fire and watch it burn, dude, it would be the worm. Hate that thing, dude.
I've
But
actually never heard of I like kind of like follow the CrossFit Games, like not too much, but I've never heard of that one.
a lot of people love it, but there's some people that hate it, and I'm just one of those people, man. I just don't like. I don't like it. I gets rashes all over me, like blows up my
Yeah,
back. Nothing about it I like. And I don't mind like
yeah,
sandbag cleans. I don't mind that, or even D-ball cleans. I don't mind that, but I don't know, something about that worm. But training slowly ramps up. You train a little bit more, got to recover a little bit better as the season goes
yeah.
on from like February or March all the way until August. And August is when you're like peaking, you're training 2 to 3 sessions a day, whatever it may be, and
Wow.
you're eating everything in sight. So
Yeah, I mean, like how much, what at the peak, right? Like before, you're actually going to be going to the games and whatnot. Um, how many hours a day are you training?
well, man, it's it's kind of a tough question, but it varies really per day. But at like peak training, we could be in the gym for I don't even know, like 6 plus hours. It just depends, yeah. But that includes,
It's
that
crazy.
includes warm up time, and that takes a while,
Right.
cool down time, setting up equipment, all that jazz, and
Yeah.
it includes all of that. You're not working out for 6 hours straight or 8 hours straight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it
Right.
depends how much you lollygag. If you're just
Yeah.
farting around in the gym, it's going to take you a little bit longer. Um,
Yeah.
but if you're in and out in like 2 hours every day, something's up. You're probably not doing enough.
Right, right. And like how many calories? Like, obviously, you need to maintain proper health, right? Like you gotta be intaking enough calories to sustain the physical activity that you're doing, like to
Yeah.
that degree. So how many calories a day are you eating when you're in that phase of training?
Well, for me specifically, everyone else is different. Everyone's body weight's a little bit different. But
Yeah,
me, I was weighing around that time. I was a little bit bigger. Um, I was weighing around 193, I think, which probably was my biggest. And that I was probably eating close for me. I was probably eating close to like 6,000 calories if I had to guess. But I don't know.
that's
I mean,
crazy. I
nowadays
mean,
I
at that
eat.
point, right? You're like eating every other. When you're not in the gym training, you're probably eating, right?
Oh no, that's literally all you're doing. And
Yeah,
if you're one of those people that can just stuff food like immediately and get it down, that's
yeah,
great. Unfortunately, I'm not. I will
yeah,
I'll legit eat some food for 30 minutes and then I'll take a break for like 10 minutes and then come back and eat some more food cuz I just can't get the amount of food that I was eating and just like the cuz I was trying to eat it as healthy as I could,
yeah.
and it takes a lot of volume of a lot of volume of healthy food to get
Hmm.
in. And, you know, but if you're other people, like, I don't know Taylor Williamson's diet, but she was one of the girls who on Rich's team who won the CrossFit Games that year, but she could just eat a
Hmm.
bunch of everything she wants and still be like the fittest on earth. So that's, that's freaking amazing. She's a beast,
Yeah.
bro. But, nowadays I eat around 5,000 calories just to like maintain food right now.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's wild. I mean, even I mean we've all heard the crazy stories of like Michael Phelps and stuff like that. I don't know how many calories it was, but it was over 10,000 calories a day when he was training for the Olympics and stuff like that. And when you really put that into perspective, like when you're not training, you are either eating or you're sleeping, and that
Yeah.
is it, which is
It's
just
so much
crazy.
food, yeah. So much food you're
Yeah.
trying to get in. And when you start getting over that like 7,000 calorie mark is when you're starting to have to really just eat a little bit more crap.
Yeah.
You can't just rice and chicken your way to 10,000 calories. Like you can't do that.
Oh, that sounds painful.
Dude, that it is painful. That's like blending it up in a
Yeah.
smoothie at that point and having a drink. And
Yeah.
that's just I would rather not. So
Yeah, yeah, seriously, right? Yeah, so what's it like having Rich around? Like, has he been more of a mentor for you, or like is it more of just like kind of a friend where you get to ask some questions here and there? Like, is he around much at the gym, or what is that? look like?
Nowadays he's coming to the gym a little bit more nowadays. It fluctuates on the time of year because he does hunt a lot.
Hmm.
So there's hunting season, and
Okay.
I don't know much about hunting, honestly. I wish I knew more, but I don't. And when he was training his last year in 2022, I mean, he was here every day. But
Right.
uh,
Right.
as far as like me, Rich, I've slowly built, I think, a little bit of a relationship with him. We at least know each
Hmm.
other, and um, I've gone on a trip with him before to Amarillo with it was a charity event. It was really cool, and he let me dog sit, so that was dope, and that was pretty fun. His dogs are really chill, and I love dogs, so at least he trusts me enough to watch his dogs. But
That's a good thing, right?
Rich he's always there for if I have a question, he's always there to answer it. Like he will always answer whatever my question
Hmm.
is. And I think that's really cool. He's not so much like he won't sit there and watch you work out and
Hmm.
he's not going to be that like on the floor every single day type of person cuz if you meet Rich even just for like a week, like you can understand that Rich just like can't sit there and watch you work out. Like he can't do it. I don't think you can get Rich to sit down for more than like 10 minutes. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
not really how he is. But he will. I mean, he's always willing to answer questions and stuff, and things like that. Nowadays, yeah, he is in the gym a little bit more. I think he's just now that he's retired, he's focusing on his family
Right.
a little bit more, and
Oh
um,
yeah.
I'm assuming some ways to grow the business, but I don't know. I don't talk to him I don't talk to him that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so we obviously we talk a little bit about the team side of things, and now on the individual side, obviously it's different, right? It's a different mentality, different approach. So for you, when you first went into the individual side of things, what was the biggest shift for you, and and how did you approach that differently than having the team?
Um, I mean, how did I approach it differently? The main thing was, I mean, nutrition pretty much stayed the same. I mean, it fluctuated a little bit with goals, like off season, you try and
Hmm.
get stronger and a lot of that. But
Yeah,
um, the main thing is really just how you kind of switch your training a little bit, but not really too much because a lot of team, you do train a lot with the team, but there's also a lot of individual fitness. You have to get better individually in order to be a better teammate. Um,
right,
and
right,
so, your teammates can't run your teammates can't do workouts and like your teammates can't do hill sprints and then you get better with the hill sprints that they did. You know what I mean? Like you have to
yeah,
individually get better. Um,
right,
it was kind of a lot of the times was I felt like an individual, even still training as a team, and like I was still trying to beat Ben Davidson in workouts all the time,
hmm
because he was a guy, and I knew the next year I would be competing against him, and so it kind of pretty much stayed the same except for the training aspect. That was pretty much it.
right.
Nothing too dramatic changed.
Yeah, but like mentality wise, like was it a different mentality when you're just competing like with yourself?
Uh, Man, I don't really know how to answer the question honestly because I'm not one of those like I need people to push me, like I can work out
Right.
by
Yeah. Yeah.
myself and be perfectly fine. And that's how I've been since I was like 11 or 12. I
Yeah.
just randomly wanted to be in the gym by myself, so I just did that and that's
Hmm.
how I like to get better and I love working out with people. Like it provides a push when there's people around me, but
Hmm.
I knew like when I was on team, I knew when there would be a lot of events that you had to do individually, like relay style or things like, or you had to go off and do
Okay.
stuff
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
your own.
Yeah.
So there was those moments, and I was just back to being an individual. I was still on a team, but I was competing
Hmm.
against an individual. I had to perform for my
Right.
team. And
Yeah.
so, obviously, with a team, there was, strategies you had to come up with during events, or who's going to hold the worm when they're doing this, while the other teammate's going to do that, and things like that.
Hmm.
But individual individual competitive CrossFit is like a very selfish thing, and
Hmm.
I try to be I try to be not selfish as much as I can when you really try and separate competitive CrossFit from like outside life. You know, a lot of people can
Right.
get really cooped up in the CrossFit life, and I try to find a balance in that. But just being an individual CrossFit athlete, it is a very selfish thing. Like it
Mhm.
just is. Like you have to make yourself fitter, and the only way to do that is to work on yourself and only you.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and so there is a little bit of a difference from team. Your teammates can maybe help you out a little bit in some workouts, but this like individual, it's on you, bro. Like it's just kind of one of those things. Like if I suck in a workout, well, you sucked. You got to get better. Like
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
either your judge really was making a terrible call, but there's nothing you can do about it, or you're just not fit enough. And it's not like it's not a bad thing. If you're not
Yeah.
good enough at something, like just get better at it, bro. I don't know. Like, and everyone has like a peak of their own body and whatnot, but you
Mhm.
know, if you suck at if you suck at handstand walks, like with moderation and proper programming, like get better at handstand walks. You don't have to
Mhm.
smash yourself into doing 2,000 feet of handstand walk every single day because you're just going to injure
Yeah.
yourself, but
Yeah.
you do have to worry about your own needs and make sure your body is feeling good, injuries and whatnot, because you're on your own out there. And I've been
Yeah.
okay with that because even like I was saying on team, it does feel like individual sometimes. So I never really felt like a big change mentally.
Right. Yeah. No, for
I never
sure.
felt. Yep.
Um, yeah, and then so obviously, you came one off from making the CrossFit Games. So I guess first of all, what does that feel like to you? Is it more of like a damn, like I was right there, I almost had her, or is it more of optimism moving forward? Like, hey, I'm right there, like I can make it next year. And I guess the second piece to that is what are you working on to really make that change for the next go at it?
Well, it was one of those things. I remember when it was up on like the big screen up top in the stadium, and it was like whoever like that was coming down to the last spot, who's gonna get the last qualifying spot, and they were taking 11 people from my semifinal to the CrossFit
Mhm.
Games. Whereas the previous year they took 12 people. So this year they took out one spot, and I was 12th. But I remember when they were on that screen and they were, had me and Luke Parker, and they were deciding, or they were looking at the points, like who was gonna end up getting the last spot. And right before they called out Luke, who ended up getting the last qualifying spot, before they ended up calling his name, I remember I looked over in the looked over in the stands off to the left, and I saw my coach, and he was looking over at Rich, and then he put up like the finger 1, 2, and I knew that was 12th. And as soon as I saw that, like there was a moment where I was like, "Son of a bitch!" Like,
Yeah.
damn, you're so close. It's like you're so close. And I remember I looked over at my girlfriend, and I was bummed, man. I was bummed. There was like a 2 or 3 minute spurt where I was bummed, but then I kind of started to like feel better because I I did get better than the year before. Like, yes, it sucked
Mhm.
that I didn't qualify, but then even my coach came up right after. He came around the stands, and he was like, "Dude," he said, "I don't know about you, but I am stoked with what you got." And I was like, okay, that's pretty dope for you to say that, because we did go through the workouts that were programmed that year,
Mhm.
which was last year, that year semifinals, and none of those workouts were wheelhouse workouts for me. Like none of them. They were all this like aerobic capacity type stuff, and not all of them, but there was not one that was like a wheelhouse or something that I looked at and I was like, oh yeah, I'm super excited for that workout. Like there was none of those. And for me to get one spot away from the CrossFit Games on workouts that I was not confident in at all, that was the coolest part because it was like, okay, everything we did all year, what we worked on has paid off and it will continue to pay off if we keep doing it. But unfortunately, it was just a realistic, you had to have some realistic expectation. We came in full swinging. We were like, you know what, we're just going to see what happens. We want to see if we can qualify.
Yeah.
Because getting from 19th all the way up to qualifying for the CrossFit Games, which is the 11th spot, that those guys between 11 and 19th, like getting past that, can take some
big.
people
Yeah.
3 years to get past that.
Right.
Unfortunately, this is my first year not getting past it, but um, there was a little, of course, little sucky part, but
Yeah.
realistically, like I wasn't fit enough, and I'm okay with that. But when next year comes, like I'm gonna make sure I'm fit enough.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll leave you with one last question. So obviously, I kind of already know the answer to this. You want to make it to the CrossFit Games, but we always ask our guests, the next 1 to 3, 2 to 3 years. What are your biggest goals? Like, what are your big goals that you have on your mind that you're like, this is what I'm going for? And obviously everybody has a plan of attack to get there, right? So not that you have to share that, but in terms of, bigger, loftier goals that you're looking at for the next 2 to 3 year window.
well, honestly, yeah, the goal is to qualify for the CrossFit Games for sure, and um, as far as that goes, I know there's always like you qualify for the CrossFit Games, and then what? Because with
You're
CrossFit,
right, right.
yeah, with CrossFit, it's like you get if you qualify for the CrossFit Games, you get one weekend, 4 days, 5 days out of the year that you compete. Assuming you don't get sick, assuming you don't get injured that time of year, you
Hmm.
get one chance every year for
Right,
one weekend. That's it. That's all you get. And so, you know, me myself, that kind of sucks. Like I don't like just competing for that one year for like the main CrossFit competition. Like there is other off-season comps and stuff that are
hmm.
slowly getting a little bit bigger, um but there's some changes happening in the CrossFit space. Like as of I just heard about like about a week ago, about they're talking about signing CrossFit athletes to get like pro cards and things like that.
Oh, wow.
Where maybe there's like a point system throughout the year and things like that. So
Interesting.
I've been looking at that a little bit more. What's that entail? Because you got to look at financially as a CrossFit athlete too. If you don't qualify for the CrossFit Games and if you don't have like 100,000 followers on Instagram, you're not making any money in CrossFit. Like,
Right,
you can be a quarterfinals athlete, but if you have 500,000 followers, you're making more money than probably 10th place at the CrossFit Games. But
right, right.
even fifth place, sometimes even third place. Honestly, like heck,
Hmm.
even first place. But that's where like social media is such a big thing with the CrossFit space,
Hmm.
um, and that it does kind of suck. But that's just the world we live in, man. And so I'm really interested in the pro card as far as like future for CrossFit, like the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the pro card, kind of see how that's going to go, and I definitely want to work with some companies and see if we can help each other out in growing in the sport. And I'm really interested in trying to find companies that are like outside of the CrossFit space that I would love to try and bring them
Hmm.
in. Because you
Hmm.
find a company that's in the CrossFit space that already has a bunch of athletes, like you're just going to be another I don't even know what you call it, bee in the nest. There's probably some southern saying for it, but you'll just be like another like you'll
Yeah.
just be another
Just
person in the
another
group.
number. Yeah. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
another person. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not super interested in being just another number. I want to bring another company in here. I want to help them out. I want them to know that I help them, and I want them to know that they
Hmm.
helped me. And
Right.
I
Right.
think that would be pretty dope. So building relationships, maybe trying to get whatever this pro card thing is. I don't even know much about it. Um, and then, but honestly, next week that could completely change. Things change on a daily basis all the time in the CrossFit space. Things are always switching up, and
Yeah.
of course, just trying to build my relationship with the Lord. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, and what did I say? The first thing we got on, right? Everybody's got a story to tell. Like people are gonna love, all of our listeners are gonna love this episode. There's a lot to take away from it. And obviously, I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Hopefully you can qualify for the CrossFit Games. That'd be sick. It's no easy feat, that's for sure. I watched I forget what documentary it was. There was some documentary on, I think it might have actually been on Rich.
uh-oh.
I forget what it was called, but it's
His
crazy,
documentary.
man, what you guys do, how much you train, how much you demand of the body to make it work. It's impressive stuff. So I appreciate you coming on. I'll put together a little care package for you with the drink and everything like that, some
Yeah, bro.
shirts. Give it a shot and see what you think. And maybe there's an opportunity to work together moving forward.